Oh, wow. I cannot take it for the holiday. Come on, people.
What do you gotta use what do we use to use?
Me.
You really, your elbow grease? Maybe you don't use some stuff? Oh, two. Yeah, that was telling me
Shabbat Shalom, everyone. Welcome to Temple Israel. It is a little bit toasty in here, so should you at any point feel like you need to disrobe slightly, we would not take it seriously or be concerned about it. So there's something that we used to do at TI a long time ago, back in the days before of COVID, and I realize that is still a pandemic. So I'm going to invite you to do this, but if you're not fully comfortable, that's okay. I would love for you to turn to someone, and it can be someone from a distance, and will you just introduce yourselves and wish them a Shabbat Shalom? Still masked, just turn around, turn to someone sitting close to you, introduce yourself, tell them your names.
A lot of young people here.
I know. So,
Younger people here.
So, one of the hardest things, honestly, about these past months is that there's a whole lot less schmoozing at synagogue, which is a big part of what we do here. So we maybe can't schmooze as much as we would like to, but we can still be grateful for being together as a community. So we're going to start tonight by singing some words that seem to really tell us about what it means like to be a community. The words are very simple. They're Hine Ma Tov, and it means how good and pleasant it is to be together, and you can find them on page 10 if you want to read along with us. הנה מה טוב ומה נעים, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב ומה נעים, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב ומה נעים, שבת אחים גם יחד. Beautiful. Oh, you guys sound amazing. So we know that there are a lot of friends who are watching from home and that we may still have that for quite a while. And one of the nice things about that is that for folks who are watching at home, that often they're doing this while they're actually having their Shabbat dinner experience. And so we like to make sure that we're doing all those blessings together. So since you have your guitar strapped on, do you want me to do this?
I think that'd be nice. Why don't you do it tonight? Yeah.
Okay, so Rabbi Michael's only saying this because he knows that I cannot use the lighter and he thinks it'll be funny, but we'll see how I do. Let's see. Hold on. Hold on. You know me so well. It usually takes me much longer. It is. It's a miracle. Okay. So we can bring in that Shabbat spirit. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lahadlik ner shel Shabbat. And we'll invite you, if you will, to please rise, and we're going to join together now in words of Kiddush, which can be found all the way back in the beginning of the prayer book on page 5. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kedeshanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu v'shabbat kodsho v'ahava uvatzon hinchilanu zikaron למעשה וראשית כי הוא יום תחילה למקראי קודש זכר ליציאת מצרים כי באנו בחרת ואותנו קידשת מכל העמים ושבת קודשך באהבה וברצון הנחתנו ברוך אתה אדוני מקדש השבת Amen. And Ella says you have to drink all of it, so so that she can take care of the cup afterwards. So now we're just going to watch you as you chug it. Okay. All right, and then we have another beautiful challah made by Mora Dai. Oh, you did a good job, Rabbi. It was just juice. Don't worry about that. Okay, so Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Amen. Please be seated. I'm like making you eat everything. So we have a lot of different blessings happening in our community today and this week. One of them is that we have a very special birthday. Now, we don't usually call it what the birthday number is, but Lori Orpals is having a very special birthday. So can we do a little Yom Huledet? Do you guys want to know? Let's do that. Yom Huledet Sameach, Yom Huledet Sameach, Yom Holedet Sameach. Yom Holedet Sameach. Now that's really just a lead-in because as awesome as it is to be the birthday girl and the mother of the bride, it's even more fun to actually be the bride and groom. So if we can now call up Leanne and Josh. All right, so now you guys know if Rabbi Shook was here, he would say, come on, hold hands. There you go. Okay, perfect. Okay. So just a few moments ago, we had the opportunity to sign a ketubah with Leanne and Josh because they are going to be getting married very soon. And in this sacred time, we are in the month that's called Elul. And Elul is known as a time when people are supposed to be closer to God than any other time. But there's also something very beautiful about the month of Elul because it is supposed to be an acronym. Elul stands for Ani Ladodi Vadodi Li. I am my beloved's and my beloved is mine. So may you find that getting married, you're really getting married in the very last days of Elul, that it always reminds you that you are getting married in this time that is just bound by love, no matter what, at a time where we believe that God's presence and God's love is around us more than any other time of the whole year. May you find that it brings you all sorts of joy and sanctity, and that every day of your lives is filled with the same kind of love that you'll feel on your wedding day. So Rabbi Michael and I are going to offer you a special blessing that we give on sacred occasions. And you know what I think we'll do? We've been doing this at Barn Bat Mitzvahs this year when we all couldn't really be close to the Barn Bat Mitzvah. This is a blessing that you don't have to be a rabbi to say, even though it's called the priestly blessing. Everyone has this power. But what we need for you to do, rabbi or a priest for that matter, what we'd like for you to do is lift your hands, and you're going to do a little Mr. Spock here. Okay. May God bless you and keep you. May
God make light to shine in your home.
May God's countenance be lifted over you. May you always be granted with wholeness and with peace. Mazel tov in advance. We're so happy for you. So we know that Jewish tradition really puts a lot of stock and love in the idea of sacred weddings, so much so that every time we come together on Shabbat, we actually sing a song about brides and about weddings. The poem Lecha Dodi, which is on page 20, is this idea of welcoming in Shabbat as if Shabbat were this beautiful bride who walks into our midst. So Lecha Dodi has a lot of words, so we're not going to do the entire one, and this one also has some lai lai lais in it, so always feel free to do the lai lai lais with or without Lecha Dodi. Lecha Dodi likrat kala yadanai 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 pnei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha Dodi likrat kala yadanai 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 pnei Shabbat nekabela. Shamor vezachor vedibor echad hishmianu el hamyuchad Adonai echad ushmo echad l'shem u'tiferet v'litzli ilam Lecha Dodi likrat kala yadanai 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 pnei Shabbat nekabela. Beautiful. And we'll turn now to page 28, and I would ask you to please rise as we join together in the call to worship. Yai da 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 da. Yai da 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 da. Yai da 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 da. Yai da 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 da. Yai da 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 da. Yai da da da. Yai da 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 da. Baruchu et Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach, HaMevorach le'olam va'ed. HaMevorach, HaMevorach le'olam va'ed. In the bottom of 31, we read together in the English, "This is an hour of change. Within it we stand uncertain on the border of light. Shall we draw back or cross over? Where shall our hearts turn? Shall we draw back, my brother, my sister, or cross over? This is the hour of change, and within it we stand quietly on the border of light. What lies before us? Shall we draw back, my brother, my sister, or cross over? Baruch atah Adonai, hama'ariv aravim." And we join now together in the words of the Shema on page 34. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Le'olam va'ed. Please be seated. We continue in the Hebrew on page 36. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol lebavcha ub'chol nafshecha ub'chol me'odecha. V'hayu hadvarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavacha hayom al levavecha v'shinantam levanecha v'dibarta bam v'shivtecha b'veitecha uv'lechtecha v'derech uv'shokvecha uv'kumecha Ukshartam la'ot al yadecha, v'hayu la'totafot beinenecha, uchtavtam al mezuzot beitecha, uvisharecha, leman tizkeru, v'asitem et kol mitzvotai, v'item keroshim le'elohechem. Ani Adonai Elohechem, Asher hotzeiti etchem me'eretz Mitzrayim lihiot lachem le'elohim. Ani Adonai Elohechem. Join now in a song of freedom with the words of Micha Mocha on page 40. Micha Mocha Ha'elim Adonai Kamocha nedor b'chodesh Nora tilot osei felech Nora tilot osei felech Micha mocha Ha'elim Adonai Kamocha nedar b'kodesh. So, looking out tonight at this room, and I wish you guys had our view. It's really nice to see you all here tonight. But I know just looking out that we have such a diverse group of people who are here tonight. We have people who have been Jewish and who've been TI for generations after generations. We have people who are still exploring their faith. We have people who are coming from all different traditions. And so I always like to remind you, wherever you fall on that spectrum, that by the time we get to this prayer on page 46, these words that are called tefillah, that these prayers, like so much of what we read, these prayers were written by human beings just like us, trying to find a way to somehow connect to God and find a way to give thanks and ask for the things that are most important. So if the prayers on the page, if they work for you, then please go ahead and sing along and say along. And if they don't work for you, then you can always feel free to just offer the prayers of your heart. This time is for you as much as it is for God and for anyone else. So I'll ask you, if you will, to please join on page 46. Please rise, and if you wish, you can join us in the words of tefillah. Adonai sefatai tiftach ufi yagid tehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu v'Elohei avotenu v'imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, v'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, v'Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol Hagibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomer Chasadim Tovim, וקונה הכל, וזוכר חסדי אבות ואימהות, ומביא גאולה לבני בניהם, למען שמו באהבה, מלך עוזר ומושיע ומגן. ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם ועזרת שרה. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיי הכל אתה רב להושיע. מחכה חיים בחסד, מחיי הכל ברחמים רבים, סומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומציל אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר. מי כמוך בגבורות, ומי דומה לך, מלך ממית ומחיה ומצמיח ישועה, ונאמן אתה לחיות הקום. ברוך אתה אדוני מחיה הקום. Please be seated. And we're going to turn now to page 60. And we're going to offer a prayer for peace, recognizing that at this time that there are so many communities around the world and our own country that are in need of these prayers. And so when we sing Shalom Rav, we pray that all of those people that are in need of just a little bit of wholeness, of shalom, that they find what it is that they're looking for. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim La'olam. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim La'olam. Ki ata melech adon lechol shalom. Ki ata melech adon lechol shalom. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim La'olam. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim La'olam. V'tov beinecha levarech et amcha Yisrael bechol עת ובחושך בשלומך. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim La'olam. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim La'olam. take a moment now and we're going to flip all the way forward in our Siddur, in our prayer book, to page 253. This is a prayer that traditionally you actually only say when the Torah is in front of you, because it's this idea that God is so close to you at this time. But we know that so many of us not only feel God's closeness now, but feel like this is the prayer we need the most, no matter what. This is the time when we offer healing prayers for people in our lives and our families who could use just a little bit of extra help. So if there's someone that you're thinking of at this time who would appreciate knowing that their names were being said aloud right now, we'll invite you to share at this time if you'd like. Thanks, Wayne. So we're thinking too tonight of Arlene Alper and Lacey Weinstein, of Louis Hirschberg and Jerry Krause, of Aubrey Craig, and of Drew Patchen. We're thinking of all of them and thinking of all of those who are in need of healing. And so together we sing the words of the Mishaberach on page 253. Mishaberach Avotenu Mekor HaBracha Leimotenu. May the source of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Mishaberach imotenu mekor habracha lavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen. Oseh shalom bimroma, ya'aseh shalom aleinu, ve'yakov Yisrael ve'imeru amen. Oseh shalom bimromov, ya'aseh shalom aleinu, ve'yakov Yisrael ve'imeru amen. So Rabbi Michael and I had a pretty awesome start to our day today, because this morning we had the opportunity to join Rabbi Shook at the mikveh with Nancy, so that we could officially welcome her to the Jewish people. And so Nancy has prepared a few words for us that we haven't read because she keeps changing them and editing them like every second. So Nancy, don't say anything crazy, but we would love to invite up Nancy to share a few words with you.
I was literally rewriting this like 4 times today. That's me. Okay. Hi. To quote the Grateful Dead,
And as a nod to the rabbi's son's first day of school t-shirt, what a long, strange trip it has been. First of all, many thanks to my husband, and I did not realize we were going to be matchy-matchy tonight, so sorry. My family and my dear friends, your support through this entire journey has been amazing. Many thanks to Rabbi Amy and Rabbi Michael for your guidance and patience with my many questions. Imagine my excitement to find out that Rabbi Michael has the same affinity for Mel Brooks movies that I do. So there is that. I would not be standing here without both of you. I have chosen Hannah as my Hebrew name as a nod to my given name of Nancy, as they both mean grace. As I related to the rabbis this morning, I spent months kvetching over the choice of my Hebrew name. I looked at the end names. Nothing was there. My middle name is Marie. I looked at the M names. Nothing was there. So finally, in my despair, I decided that I would look up the meaning of the Hebrew name of grace. Hannah, that was it, finally. Something important was finally accomplished. Growing up in a Mennonite community in Nebraska, my Jewish journey appears to have started about as far away from this moment as possible. The founding families in my hometown all immigrated together from the central Ukraine in the 1870s. Because of its insular nature, I am really related at this time still to about 75% of my hometown. Yeah. There were always whispers that some of the families in our town had Jewish relatives. I found it intriguing, but never really thought much of it. I was already an outlier because my mother was not from my community, and I had more progressive beliefs about the world than most of my friends and classmates. When I went off to college, I threw off everything that I had known up to that point. I knew I didn't want to be part of the Mennonite church because of my own more personal and progressive beliefs. I wanted ritual. I wanted what that very plain church I grew up in did not have. I met my husband my junior year at the University of Kansas, and it was evident very quickly that we imprinted on each other like penguins and were meant to be together. When he finally proposed, I had already decided that I would join the Episcopal Church like the rest of his family. The ritual that I liked was there, and it felt right at the time. Something was still missing, and I did what we all do, right? We go to like WebMD, look up our imaginary illnesses. I went to the internet. So nerd alert, I am a huge fan of Mayim Bialik because not only do I love the Big Bang Theory, I also love the fact that she's a neuroscientist. And around 2011, she was writing for the Jewish lifestyle blog Feller. Now, I am not a parent of human children, let alone a Jewish parent at that time, so I have no idea what was drawing me to this site other than her, and the more I kept reading, the more I kept finding things in my life that I was questioning that were answered. I also discovered the YouTuber Jew in the City, and I watched every video that she put out, and they're fascinating and fabulous, just FYI. So maybe this was finally the missing piece. So, fast forward to the height of the pandemic last year. Two things happened. First, I decided to finally take that DNA test to prove to myself that those whispers were true. I mean, there had to be a reason that my high school did Fiddler on the Roof like every 3 years. There had to be a reason that I could read Yiddish and understand what it was. There had to be a reason that I kvetch about everything, and I'm like a huge ball of anxiety 95% of the time, right? I mean, there had to be. So I ordered my test, spit in the tube, sent it on its merry way. Second, I was getting ready for work one morning, and we had NPR on the Alexa, and I heard a commercial for the Introduction to Judaism class. Ha-ha, that was a sign. I knew it. I registered for that class about 2 hours later and ordered the book immediately, and in true nerd fashion that I am, I started reading the book before the class even started. I checked out the TI website, and I loved what I saw, and the fact that it had a strong woman head rabbi really kind of is what you had me at the female rabbi. There was a women's connection class that I thought looked really interesting and that I would really find helpful. And I asked Rabbi Amy if I could join, even though I wasn't a member and I really wasn't even Jewish yet. And Rabbi Amy, in her usual warm, welcoming way, said, absolutely, come on. Since that first class, I have joined Rabbi Amy's book club and other Women's Connection events, and I think I have taken, if I figured it right, every class that Rabbi Michael has offered. So, back to that name thing. Rabbi Amy and I did a Torah study on Hannah, and one story is lovely and sweet, and oh, she's so strong. And the other one is fantastically disturbing, and if you have not read it, just don't read it. Seriously, don't. And even after all of that, I wanted to stick with the name because I really saw her grace and perseverance through those texts. Not long after we started dating, when it was evident that we were going to be together, my husband Paul told me that if we had not met, he thought he would always come back to St. Louis. He grew up in Ladue. And he would just marry a nice Jewish girl. He did. So, at the end of all this, here I am. I have searched out and have found a community in the time of a global pandemic. I have found where I belong. What a long, strange trip it has been. And that DNA test that I took, my mother was right all those years ago. I have a Jewish great-grandparent. I think I know who it is, too. And even if the test had come back differently, I think I would still be standing here. So thank you to everyone who has made me feel welcome and at home at Temple Israel.
So, all right, so Nancy, so today at the mikveh, we asked you a series of questions. It was your test, and you passed. Yeah,
Okay.
I'm patient. She's so excited.
So,
No. There will be many photo ops. Don't you worry. So the questions that we asked you this morning, when it was just the Beit Din, that is the three rabbis, we are going to ask you those again. Hold on, they don't want to be found. Okay, so. Rabbi Michael, what do you do? Let's get it close to life.
Chan, do you choose to enter the eternal covenant between God and the people of Israel and to become a Jew of your own free will?
I do.
Do you accept Judaism to the exclusion of all other religious faiths and practices?
I do.
Do you pledge your loyalty to Judaism and to the Jewish people under all circumstances?
I do.
Do you promise to establish a Jewish home, to participate actively in the life of the synagogue and the Jewish community?
I do.
Do you commit yourself to the pursuit of Torah and Jewish knowledge?
I do.
It's like the Passover Seder. We've got a few more questions.
And I was the youngest at our table, so I had to answer all of them.
Well, you did very well.
All right, so here's the thing, as you can see, we're all very excited about Nancy. So Nancy, what we're going to do now is we are going to give you the Torah to hold. We've been talking about this for so long, you know, and Nancy has been ready for this moment for a very long time. And of course, COVID got a little bit in the way. And she said, I'm going to wait until a time where I can be up here and I can hold the Torah and I can say what I want to say. So we're like, okay, this is the time. So, Nancy, these are the sacred scrolls that have been passed from one generation to the next. These are the scrolls that have been taken from villages all across Europe and have always been the most sacred texts of our people. So we're going to invite you, and we're going to invite the whole community, if you wish, to join us in the words of the Shema as you hold these sacred scriptures. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Nancy Chana, today you became a member of the Jewish people. But as Rabbi Michael and I have known since we first met you, you have always been a member of the Jewish people. There was never a question, and even it turns out genetically, you were meant to be here. So Mazel Tov, welcome, and we are just so glad that you are part of this community.
Thank you. Can I grab a Kleenex?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Oh my goodness. Okay. So at this time, we are going to invite you to turn to page 282, and please rise, and we're going to join in the words of the Aleinu.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חוקינו כהם, וגור עלינו ככל עמונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא. ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ, ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו אחד.
And though we know there are so many things that we are feeling joyful about this Shabbat, we also honor those who are here or who are watching because they are in a time of mourning. And so we recall with love the names of those taken from us in recent days, and our hearts go out to their families in sympathy as we recall their names: Wally Glazer, Larry Goldfarb, Dr. Jeff Pevnick, and Dorothy Schneider. We now recall the names of those, the anniversary of whose death occurs on this Shabbat and whose names have been inscribed in the archives of our congregation or on the Wall of Honor for perpetual memorial: Celeste Eileen Ash, Sidney Bear, Molly Barron, Mary Fennell Barron, David Benson, Barry Brockman, Earl Cohen, Rabbi Jerome B. Cohen, Dr. Robert Cohen, Fanny Frank Cook, Elsie Korn, Rosalie Durkee, Max H. Fader, Minnie Fuchs Feinstein, Marie Frankel, Mary Kranzberg Friedman, Helen Marie Freund, Edna Rosenberg Friedman, Mame Friedman, Mary London Fry, Jeanette Gillis, Molly Glassman, Rose Goldberg, Bess Brown Goldsman, Faye Kaiserman Greenberg, Joseph David Gross, Charles Hartman, David Hirsch, Dora Prince Horowitz, Ray Abrams Horowitz, John Isaacs, Ida Liebman Kaufman, Louis Kay, Arthur Kurlander, Samuel Lasky, Jenny Schartz Libman, Eva Caviar McFall, Milton Mendel, Morris Michelson, Eugene Perline, Tilly Franzel Portman, Roy Post, Meyer Rosentreader, Lillian Wise Siegel, Estelle Seidel, Mary Seidler, Dr. Hyman Centuria, Mildred Shakowitz, Jeannie Stiffelman, Florence Terry, Mary Weinstein Waldman, Stefan Weil, Carl Weil, Sarah Ruth Wolfson. So those names and the names we keep in our hearts, we join together in the words of the Mourner's Kaddish on page 294.
Yitgadal v'yitgadash shemei Rabbah, ba'alma divrach chiyutei v'yamlich malchutei, b'chayechon uv'yomechon uv'chayei dechol Beit Yisrael, ba'agala uv'izman kariv v'imru amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mevarach le'olam u'almei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shemei dekudisha barichu, la'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbachata v'nechamata, da'amiram ba'alma v'imru amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael, v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'imramav, hu ya'aseh shalom, Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'emru amen.
May the source of peace and peace to all who mourn and comfort all who are bereaved. And we say, Amen.
Oseh shalom b'imramav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'imeru amen.
Please be seated. So one more thing before we get to our closing song. So we have a lot of new members here tonight, and it used to be, again, back in the old days before the pandemic, that we would call you guys up and we would do a big blessing, and we realized you don't know each other yet, so that would be weird if we got you all up here and put you under a big chalice because, COVID. So we thought when you can't do a ritual, then there's always time for words, and there's actually some beautiful sacred words that come from this week's Torah portion. This week's Torah portion is Kitavo, and it talks about this idea that you should be blessed in your comings and blessed in your goings. So I wanted to say, first of all, that we are tremendously blessed that you have come here. We are so thrilled that you have decided to become members of this community. Some of you we already know very well, and it feels like you've been here forever. Some of you we're just getting to know, but we know that just having you here really makes our lives and our community more of a blessing. And we hope too that what you find when you walk in these doors is that you always feel that you are blessed, that you're finding something sacred and meaningful that you can take away. Because really, when it comes to being not just blessed in your comings, but blessed in your goings, we know that the most beautiful thing about Judaism is in fact not what happens in this space. It's the teachings that you learn and the connections that you make in the community that you feel that allows you to then go back out to your homes and your community and your world and take those Jewish teachings that you have learned with you. So we pray that you always feel blessed that you have come here, just as we feel so blessed to have you, and that when you go along your way, that you always take the blessings of faith, of Judaism, and of Temple Israel with you. We're so glad, and we can't wait till we can see your whole faces and really be together as one community. So our closing song tonight, it's one that is we've been singing for a while that really helps us sort of get in the mood for the High Holy Days. It reminds us that we are coming back to this place where we can all feel like we are whole and holy again. We sing, we return.
We return, we return, we return, return again. We return, we return, we return, return again and again to you. To you, to you, we return again to you.
Shabbat Shalom, and if we don't see you next Friday night, Shana Tova.
I think there's a bug in it. I think there's a bug in it. I'll eat the bug. I'm going to eat the bug for you all.
It's protein. It's protein. Exactly. You believe.
I got my vaccine. I can eat the bug. So cool. Who's doing it? Okay. So, it's a pleasure. It's not that money as well. I'm good at this. I know what to do. I just shoot somebody's hand. Well, you know, it's the challenge Jewish job. Yeah, but come on. Well, he's gonna. Look at that. Ooh, Ella, you're so fancy. I was like, do you want to do
I cannot do anything. 2 years ago, I cleaned also. Yeah, just inside before you put the money because of this.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Just wipe with the alcohol.
No, they'll probably make it better.
You grab it.
Yeah, and that's so I feel terrible eating the challah in front of people. It's like a cooking show, but I know it's really good. And everybody's watching. I'm the only person that gets it.
What's going on with you guys? Okay, now I feel better.
All right. Well, look at how beautiful that is.
What? Yes, see, they just
I don't get it.
give it to.
Yeah.
Do you really? Oh my gosh. So when I was in college, I remember getting a video. And my mom was like, "Are you gonna run it?" It's like I would run home. It's from the music, so you can forget it. Every week, I'm like, we're gonna be.
We like reread all the chords.
But now I don't do either of those things. So,